Chapter 11: The Grand Dissonance. The cavern groaned as the overhead stone began to liquefy under the heat of the Vanguard's thermal drills. Kylene stood before the Gaianode, his hand trembling over the execute sequence. If I do this, Alara, the medbeds go dark. The prosperity funds evaporate. We're sending the world back to the Stone Age, Kylene shouted over the rising hum of the obsidian sphere. No, Alara said, her eyes reflecting the amber pulse of the Gaianode. We're sending them back to the human age. No more indigo lies, just the truth of the struggle. The trigger. Kylene slammed his palm onto the sphere. The Gaianode didn't explode. It inhaled. All the golden light in the room was sucked into the obsidian core for a heartbeat of absolute silence. Then, it released a wave of transdimensional static. This wasn't an electromagnetic pulse that fried circuits. It was a resonance wave. It traveled through the Earth's crust, moving faster than light, hitting every node of the indigo web simultaneously. The shattering. In cities across the globe, the violet streetlights didn't just flicker, they shattered into fine glass dust. The Ethernet, the satellites in orbit, experienced a massive parity error. The golden-backed data they were harvesting suddenly turned into raw, emotional white noise, the sounds of children laughing, people grieving, and the chaotic roar of billions of individual thoughts. The lunar relay couldn't process the uncalibrated data. It began to melt. The Vanguard, in the streets, the indigo-eyed soldiers stopped mid-stride. The neural link that turned them into puppets was severed. Thousands of men dropped their rifles and clutched their heads, the static of their own personalities rushing back in like a flood. The payouts on every wrist unit, the $100,000 balances vanished. In their place, the screens displayed a single, final message from the Gaianode: freedom is the only currency. The IMP of the soul. The wave hit the calibrated citizens like a splash of ice water. The terrifyingly peaceful smiles vanished. People woke up in the middle of the street, looking at the prosperity they had been promised and realizing it was a velvet trap. The neural calibration was undone. The grand dissonance had restored the static, the beautiful, messy, unpredictable human ego. The final confrontation. In the cavern, the ceiling finally gave way. Colonel Thorne, now a high-level drone for the Overmind, dropped into the chamber, his armor glowing with a dying indigo light. He raised his arm, but his harmonizer weapon just sputtered and emitted a weak, orange spark. The collective, Thorne wheezed, his eyes flickering between indigo and his natural brown. The ledger must balance. The ledger is closed, Thorne, Kylene said, stepping away from the sphere. The Earth just filed for bankruptcy. We don't owe the moon anything anymore. Thorne collapsed, the indigo light finally leaving his eyes. He looked up at Alara, his expression one of agonizing confusion. I remember the hospital. I remember wanting to help. You can help now, Alara said, kneeling beside him. The real way, with your own hands. The darkened world. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise on the 13th day, but there were no hovering ships, no truth streams, no unity festivals. The world was quiet, the internet was down, the lattice was a ghost. Kylene and Alara emerged from the vault into the morning air. The forest was alive with the sound of birds, real sound, not the 432 Hz artificial harmony. In the distance, they could see the city. Smoke rose from a few places where the old grid had failed, but for the first time in a decade, the sky was a deep, natural blue. We're broke, Kylene said, looking at his dead tablet. We have no money, no medbeds, and a world of people who are going to be very, very angry when they realize their prosperity was a dream. We're not broke, Alara said, taking his hand. We're loud, and for the first time, Kylene, we're the ones holding the pen. The final subplot, the seed. As they walked away from the vault, Kylene felt a small vibration in his pocket. He pulled out his handheld scanner. It was dead, but the screen showed one final, flickering image, a gold seed. The Gaianode hadn't just destroyed the lattice. It had planted a true ledger, a decentralized, human-based system that couldn't be harvested by the lunar envoy. The golden age wasn't over. It just wouldn't be delivered by a satellite. It would have to be built, one person at a time.